Titanic. The untold story of the unsinkable ship. Greetings, friends. Let's travel back in time to the 10th of April. 1912, day when history's most famous ship began its first and final voyage. This was the story of the RMS Titanic, the largest, most luxurious ship the world had ever seen. But within just 4 days, this unsinkable marvel would become the center of the greatest maritime tragedy in history. The pride of the seas. When Titanic set sail from Southampton, England, its destination was New York City. On board were more than 2,200 passengers and crew, from wealthy industrialists, actors, and businessmen, to poor immigrants chasing the dream of a better life in America. The ship was under the command of 62-year-old Captain Edward John Smith, one of the most experienced seamen of his time. There was excitement everywhere. The passengers, the press, and even the company that built Titanic all believed this ship represented the future of travel. And why not? Titanic was a true engineering marvel. 269 meters long and 53 meters tall, it dwarfed every other ship of its era. Its cost was a staggering $7.5 million at the time, which equals nearly $400 million today. Step inside, and you'd find luxury beyond imagination. Grand staircases and stained glass mirrors, heated swimming pool, Turkish baths, and even an electric bath squash court, gymnasium, barbershops, libraries, and restaurants. It was said that even the finest 5-star hotels would pale in comparison to Titanic's interiors. The company behind this ship, White Star Line, boasted loudly that Titanic was unsinkable. Their vice president even declared it publicly. But as we know today, that confidence would soon prove fatal. The warnings began only 2 days into the journey. On the 12th of April, Titanic began receiving its first ice warnings. The North Atlantic was filled with dangerous icebergs at this time of year. Ships regularly sent each other warnings by radio, and Titanic received several. The crew even adjusted the course twice to avoid trouble. But crucially, the speed was never reduced. Titanic continued at 21.5 knots, 40 kilometers per hour, almost full speed, racing across dangerous waters. On the 14th of April, the warnings became even more serious. Titanic received 7 separate alerts about heavy ice ahead. But Captain Smith and his officers still did not slow down. That night, the sea was eerily calm. There was no moonlight, making visibility poor. Up in the crow's nest, Lookout Frederick Fleet shivered in the freezing wind, his eyes watering as he strained to see through the darkness. At 11:39 p.m., he spotted a massive, looming iceberg directly in Titanic's path. He rang the bell 3 times and telephoned the bridge. "Iceberg right ahead." First Officer William Murdoch immediately ordered the ship to turn left, and engines reversed, but the warning had come too late. At 11:40 p.m., Titanic struck the iceberg. The mountain of ice was enormous, as long as a football field and weighing an estimated 1.5 million tons. The collision ripped open Titanic's side for nearly 100 meters, puncturing 6 watertight compartments. Here's the tragic twist. Titanic's safety design was built to handle 4 flooded compartments, but not 6. The ship was doomed. Captain Smith and ship architect Thomas Andrews inspected the damage and were horrified. Andrews confirmed the unthinkable. Titanic was going to sink. Panic and denial at 12 a.m. Distress signals were sent out by senior radio operator Jack Phillips. He sent call after call, desperately hoping another ship would hear them. Finally, the RMS Carpathia, 107 kilometers away, responded. But even at full speed, it would take them over 3 hours to reach Titanic. Meanwhile, rockets and flares lit the night sky. Passengers, however, were slow to panic. After all, everyone believed Titanic was unsinkable. Some lifeboats left half empty. A boat with room for 65 carried only 28. But soon, the reality became undeniable. The bow sank deeper, the stern lifted high, and panic spread. People scrambled, fought, and prayed. By 1 a.m., the tilt was terrifying. By 2:05 a.m., the last lifeboat was lowered, yet over 1,500 people remained trapped aboard. At 2:20 a.m., Titanic's lights flickered, and with a thunderous roar, the ship broke into 2 pieces. Within minutes, both halves disappeared beneath the freezing Atlantic. Tragedy in the cold, those who fell into the -2 degrees Celsius water stood little chance. Hypothermia killed most within minutes. Survivors described heart-wrenching scenes, families torn apart, children crying, and the ship's band playing music until the very end. Captain Smith went down with his ship, some say standing at the wheel, others claim by his own hand. When Carpathia finally arrived around 3:30 a.m., it was too late. Of Titanic's 2,200 souls, only about 700 survived. The ship that didn't help. But here's the most shocking part. Another ship was much closer. The SS Californian was only 37 kilometers away. Its crew even saw Titanic's rockets, but dismissed them as fireworks from a party. Their radio operator had turned off his equipment just minutes before the collision. They acted. Hundreds of lives could have been saved. Instead, by dawn, the Californian found only floating bodies. What went wrong? So, who was to blame? Historians point to several failures. Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for barely half its passengers. Captain Smith had canceled the lifeboat drill scheduled for that very day. At the moment of danger, helmsman Robert Hickens reportedly misunderstood the steering order, turning the ship the wrong way before correcting precious seconds lost. And finally, the pressure from White Star Line's chairman, Joseph Bruce Ismay, who allegedly urged Smith to maintain high speed to break records, ignoring the ice warnings. Legacy of Titanic. The Titanic disaster shocked the world and changed maritime safety forever. In 1914, the International Ice Patrol was established to monitor icebergs. The Solas Treaty required every ship to carry enough lifeboats for all on board. For decades, Titanic's wreck remained lost. Then in 1985, oceanographer Robert Ballard and a French team discovered it nearly 3.8 kilometers under the sea. The ship lay in two giant pieces, slowly being consumed by bacteria and salt. Scientists believe by 2030 the wreck may completely disintegrate. Even after more than a century, Titanic continues to capture imaginations. In 2012, an Australian billionaire even proposed building Titanic 2, an exact replica. But with modern travelers demanding Wi-Fi and TV, interest faded and the project stalled. Closing the Titanic's story is more than just a tragedy at sea. It's a reminder of human ambition, arrogance, and the cost of ignoring warnings. An unsinkable ship sank in less than 3 hours, taking 1,500 lives with it. Even today, over 110 years later, the Titanic remains a powerful symbol, a story of dreams, disaster, and lessons that shaped the future of travel forever.